Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fellow graveyard dwellers, welcome to the entity build. This is the updated entity build for the update patch 43. Basically, it's the same as the previous patch, but slightly different skills and different scripts, and there's a couple of alternatives that you can use if you don't necessarily have this set up, but stay tuned for any changes that may come along the way. You know how I do. I usually release a build video and then I still tweak it as we go, but you know, this build pretty much is what it is. I don't really see much of it changing other than maybe potions or maybe a Mundus or something, but as it stands right now, this build is absolutely disgusting and it does what I need it to do. So without further ado, let's jump into our character sheet real quick. These are our unbuffed stats. Max magic is just under 25k, max health 30k, max stam 14k, and then our recoveries will go up with our pots and our skills, and then spell damage just above 4,000. That's where I like to keep it. Spell penetration, it's a little low, but I mean, then again, we're on our back bar. Spell penetration's a little low, but we have our major and minor breach that will help out a lot with that, and then pretty much aggressive spell damage across the board. So everything will synergize together, giving us a great burst window and getting the job done. Back bar stats, as you saw already, that's what we were looking at when we first jumped into the character sheets. And then buffed up, we have 24k spell resistance, 22k physical resistance. Our resistant flesh helps out a lot with this. Do not get discouraged by those lower numbers. You don't need to be maxed out at resistances right off the bat. Does it help? Sure. Are you going to lack in other areas of the build? Absolutely. So remember that our necro passives will keep us alive the lower health we are, and it's going to help out a lot with our healing the lower health we have as well. Looking at a buffed stat real quick. Front bar spell damage 4862 right before our mist form, and then 5240 for that 6-second window right after we leave mist form. And then our magic recovery is just over 2k. Stam recovery is still sitting at about a 1300 1400 window. We will decline this because we're in the middle of our build video. Don't worry, we'll jump into BGs here in a minute. But I wanted to get this out there because I've been asked a lot on a couple of my shorts, hey, what's going on? I thought you were using Army of the Dead build. Well, this is the other build that I like to run when I'm not doing the aggressive summons and just kind of letting all the minions do the work. So I figured I might as well get my hands dirty too, right? Back bar recovery, it's a little bit the same. There's not too much different with it. I think our front bar actually has higher recovs. Yeah, 1960 and 1344 on the back bar, but we have reduced cost on our skills because of hexproof. So front bar 2100, 13, yeah. So it's really not that dramatic of a change, but there is a little bit of a difference. Looking at our skill sheet here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around. 41 into magic, 23 into health, just to keep health right at that 30k mark. Jewels of Mizril is our food. We are using the Apprentice Mundus for max spell damage, and then stage 3 Vampire. This is probably going to be the only build that I carry over Vampire just because of the changes to Vampirism. That's yet to be determined with the Army of the Dead build because I obviously cannot test it on console since update 43 has not been available to us yet, but I am still on the edge if I'm going to get rid of Vampirism completely with Army of the Dead. As of right now, the entity is going to keep it just because of the way that the build works. We are also a high elf. So jumping into our skills here, Spirit Guardian on the front bar. This can be a flex spot, depending if you do want to drop the pots that we are using for either whatever you fancy. I currently use the spell drought pots from the Alliance. What's it called? Yeah, the Alliance spell drought. It gives you the max, the major prophecy, the major sorcery, and your magicka recovery. So, I mean, across the board, it's a really good, cheap alternative. You don't have to worry about pots or worrying about crafting or anything. You can just go buy these with your AP and call it a day. But if you did want to, you could drop Spirit Guardian if you feel like your healing and your damage is your damage reduction is enough. You can put the skeleton on here and get the spell damage buff if you wanted to. But I don't like playing like that. I like to just let the pots do the work and then keep my healing and my damage mitigation on my skill bar here. That way we all stay nice and cheap as far as, you know, how other pots can be expensive and whatnot. But it is what it is. You play how you want to. I like to use the pots for my major sorcery buff. Main skill here, Leashing Soul. So this is what's going to be lining up our burst. So when we start off with our combo, we're going to be hitting them with a Blighted Blast Bones. You want to hit this Leashing Soul that it procs our first set. Leashing Soul is going to apply the stun when they get pulled into you. Then you're going to also get ultimate back with consuming a soul gem, thanks to the signature script that we have on here. And then this is also going to be our source of Major Breach. So when they get hit with the Major Breach, it's going to proc our Star Venom off Snake in the Stars. So when you pull them in, you're immediately going to want to hit them with this Shock Burst. Shocking Burst is our second soul skill. It's going to do an AoE 6k shock damage. It's going to consume another soul gem, doing 2.8% of the enemy's max health as Oblivion damage. Oblivion damage is unblockable, undodgeable damage. Doesn't matter if they're blocking, doesn't matter if they're dodge rolling into a block. They take this damage no matter what, and they cannot cleanse it. And it's going to hit 2.8% of their max health. So the more health they have, the more damage it'll do. Every 2 seconds for 10 seconds, up to a maximum of 2,800 damage. I cannot completely confirm if this is 2,800 total, and if it is, then this is completely garbage. But if it's 2,800 damage every 2 seconds, then it's really, really, really strong. And then this deals 100% more damage if the enemy is under 50% health. So it kind of is a joke I'm going to execute, but it does help out in that aspect of where we're reeling them in, the lower health they are, hitting them with this shock burst. Our Star Venom is doing Oblivion damage. Our Shocking Burst is doing Oblivion damage. Unblockable, undodgeable damage. Then we're also going to use the Minor Courage Aphex script, which is going to buff our weapon and spell damage, just helping out with our damage even more, our healing a little bit, because the ghost is on our front bar. And then that'll also carry on to our back bar too, which helps out our healing even more. Arterial Burst. This is our spammable. This has a 9k tooltip on it, and it only costs us 1,600 magic. So 33% more damage based on our missing health. When we're in our Vamp alt, we can have about 40k max health. So whatever that 33% mark is off 40k, we're going to be doing basically critable damage, and that's without critting. So 50% health. I mean, 20k it's still kind of dangerous to me. Like, if you have 40k health, obviously 20k, it's not terrible, but Nightblades could easily one-shot you. So you kind of have to be careful the way you play with the whole half health thing. Does it benefit you if you're able to, like, pinch off a kill while you have, like, barely any health? Absolutely, but I would try to stay away from the lower the health you are. Even though you are tankier as a vampire, it's better to just get away with the 9k upfront damage. The 33% more damage is obviously a benefit, but don't stress about getting under 50% health just to get this bad boy to crit. Like, it's not worth it. It'll do enough damage on its own. And then Blighted Blast Bones. This is going to be our timed burst. So you hit this, reel them in with Leashing Soul, hit them with a Shock Soul when they come to you, and then your Blast Bones is going to slap them, and you're going to hit them with Arterial Burst as your spammable. Swarming Scion, this is our ultimate. It's pretty easy to get because of the way that we get ultimate back. 4 ultimate every 5 seconds with this. It helps out a lot. We're able to get Swarming Scion pretty quickly. I did choose this over the Goliath only because the Goliath is good for more health, which obviously would help out with Arterial Burst more. But that extra 10k magic and stamina it does so much more for the build just because it's going to be boosting our damage with the extra 10,000 magic. About every 10,000 magic equates to 1,000 spell damage. Vice versa, every 10,000 stamina equates to about 1,000 weapon damage. So it's going to pretty much reward the rest of our toolkit by having the other max stats besides just max health. And then that will also be doing damage in an AoE. It does a bat swarm every 1 second, doing about 3k damage. And of course this is unbuffed too, so once we have our spell damage buff up and then our mist form up, everything else is going to be doing a lot more damage. So I can show you real quick. I'm going to go get homie out here. This is our entity demon friend. There he is. Hello. So yeah, hit a spell pot, hit mist form. Look at our toolkit. Blighted Blast Bone's doing 17.2k damage. That's pretty sweet. I mean, we're entering spec bow area damage basically. So let's see, mist form into that. Yeah, 16k without the swarming scion, basically. Not bad at all. Yeah, so that's the front bar. Back bar. Healing contingency. I carried this over from the Army of the Dead build, however, with a little bit of a twist. We changed the FX script at the bottom. So instead of having the minor intellect, minor endurance for the recovery, I chose minor protection, just because we do take quite a bit of damage by having the reduced healing off of our monster set, so the extra 5% is pretty noticeable. And then of course you could always put the other morph of what's it called? Not undo. Yeah, undo from the Psijic skill line. Just having that slotted will do the same thing, except this helps out a lot with the signature class script. That's the main reason why we have it on the build. So every 3 seconds, if you read in the middle here, our health, magic, and stamina is increased by 2% for 10 seconds for each corpse within 12 meters. This is a godsend when you take this into Imperial City, because the corpses that are everywhere will just boost your max stats through the roof, not even including Swarming Scion. So you can easily run around with 50k max magic and 50k max health, if not even higher, depending on how you build your attributes, for long windows, because there's corpses everywhere. Battlegrounds not so much, but it's easy to keep up the max stats, and you can run recovery food because of it. So you don't have to stress about having max magic or max stamina, because our signature with class script will help out with that. Now obviously the more souls that you do have on the ground, or the more that you have in your toolkit, this will better perform. But if you're thinking about it, you know, say you don't have one, just hitting the skill itself makes a corpse. You can't see it because I don't have a corpse consuming ability, but it's there. It still takes it in consideration. Just because it's not showing up on your screen doesn't mean that it's not working. And you can verify it with your skills, your character sheet too. Resistant Flesh, this is going to help out with our burst heal, and then it's going to give us the physical and spell resistance equal to half the heal. So if you do a 10k heal, you get 5k resistances for 3 seconds. Hexproof, one of my favorite skills. It's a really good cleanse. Another trick that I showed with a lot of people is Hexproof basically is a heal now, thanks to healing contingency. So it costs 1500 health, and then it removes 4 negative effects from us. While slotted, the cost of all of our abilities are reduced by 3%. Most of our expensive skills are on the back bar with respect to Summoner's Armor. Summoner's Armor will be cheap off the bat because Beckoning Armor is the cheaper of the two, but Summoner's Armor is basically reducing the cost of our Ghost and our Blighted Blastbone. So it doesn't... 2400 is not noticeable anyways, but if you spam this more than you should, it can get pretty costly. Same to go with Elusive Mist. But yeah, basically what I was saying was healing contingency. So when you arm this, and when I say arm, this is arming it. It has not activated this skill yet. You have to use another ability that costs a resource in order to activate it. This could also include dodge rolling. See how everything went off just now? Activating it, and then any other ability that you use a resource with will give it to you. So if you notice, Hexproof costs 1530 health. Now, Healing Contingency will burst heal us for 8500. So basically, you're getting a free heal and you're cleansing yourself. So you're always going to have a negative effect on you. So the way that you can really kind of get into the habit of, before you cleanse yourself, always hit Healing Contingency. Then you can cleanse yourself. Healing Contingency, cleanse. Got another negative effect on you. Healing Contingency, cleanse. You're always going to heal yourself with Hexproof if you do it like this. Just get into the muscle memory of tapping Healing Contingency first. Reset all of your buffs that you're going to grant yourself. You're going to put your minor protection back up. You're going to reset all of the corpses on the ground, and you're going to reset that timer so that way you can continue gaining max stats. And then that burst heal, of course, will stack with your resistant flash. So arm it, and then watch the heals. 9k, 11k. Contingency, 9k, 11k. Contingency, 16k, 13k. It's fucking stupid how much healing it is. It's like, it's so broken that it makes me feel like I'm exploiting things, but I mean, that's just the way that the skill works. So it's 23k healing right there just by tapping a button. 10k, 13k. 10k, 13k. 16k, 13k. And then if you hit Contingency and then hit Hexproof, oh, hold on. Look at Hexproof just did a 15k heal because Healing Contingency critted. It's so convenient. This works so well on a Crow just because of the setup, and this particular build really relies on a lot of healing just because we are going to be crippling ourselves with the monster set that we're running. Alright, so Summoner's Armor, that's going to reduce the cost of all of our summons, give us our Major Resolve. Elusive Mist, you can either do this one or Blood Mist. I like this one just because it gives us the Major Expedition and Major Evasion. I seem to be clicking Sprint a lot without even noticing, so I just kept the Major Expedition morph on. The Major Evasion is also pretty nice just because of the amount of AoEs that are throughout Battlegrounds. You're basically always going to be getting hit with something, so you might as well just have it on. But the other turnaround is, if you choose the other morph, you're going to be getting that healing up front and doing a little bit of damage over time. So each morph has its benefits, but that's just the one that I run. Do whatever you feel is comfortable. And then of course this is another flex spot, Life Giver. I chose Life Giver just because it's basically adding 3 more skills to your bar for free. I know it only costs 131 ult, but it's really not that much because of our ult gen. And basically, for those that don't know, when you cast this, you also cast Regeneration, Blessing of Protection, and Steadfast Ward at no cost, on top of the massive healing over time that you get. So it's 9.6k health every second for 5 seconds. At the same time, you're going to be casting these. And it also takes the morph that you choose too. So whatever morph of these 3 skills that you have here, that's what Life Giver is going to give you. So Rapid Regen, Combat Prayer, Healing Word, those are the morphs that I chose. So every time you cast that, it's going to throw those off at the same time. And if you'd like to see what those look like, I'll give you a little demonstration here. So hitting that, look at all that healing that's going off. You got your Ward, Combat Prayer, everything going off. It's pretty much an unkillable 6-second window. You can be killed through it, though. Don't be surprised. You know, you get dicked down by 3 plars, like I talked about in that one YouTube short I released. It's not easy to do, but it is possible. So, all right, jumping into the inventory here. Snake in the Stars. That is our front bar set. Gives us recuv, spell damage, max magic, some more recovery. Applying a major or minor debuff to an enemy applies Star Venom to them for 4 seconds. This effect can occur once every 12 seconds. Whenever an enemy with Star Venom is healed, they take 1451 Oblivion damage up to once every 0.1 second. So 1451 Oblivion damage. Unblockable, undodgeable damage. Remember, it's when you apply a debuff. So status effects are not considered debuffs. You have to do something like Major Breach, Major Cowardice, Major and Minor Defile, mind you. However, Blighted Blastbones is considered a pet and does not proc it. It's so dumb to me, I don't know why. But if, for the love of God, if anyone from ZOS watches my shit, please fix this. Allow Blighted Blastbones to proc Snake in the Stars, or don't consider it a pet anymore. Ruin my Army of the Dead build, I don't care. But if this could proc a proc set, it's not even a proc, so I don't know why it doesn't work and why the UI is coded for it to basically just remain a pet. But whatever, what do I know? That will not proc Snake in the Stars. You have to use Soul Leash. See that green venom ball at the top left? That is your Snake in the Stars buff. So when you hit them with the Blast Bones, you hit that Soul Leash, they got the Star Venom on, then you hit them with the Shocking Soul Burst, they're going to take the Star Venom, they're going to take the Oblivion damage from your Shocking Burst, on top of all the dots and potential burst damage that you output towards them. So it's a lot of incoming damage for them, and they're going to have all of that healing reduction on top of it. So it's very aggressive to make a kill, and it's very aggressive for them to try and out-heal it because of the incoming Oblivion damage that they receive. It doesn't always feel like it's working, and that's probably because you don't have soul gems like I didn't. So double check your inventory before you jump into a BG's or go out in Zero. Or IC, wherever you want to go. Back bar, Wretched Vitality. Why not, right? So I was thinking, like, what would be the best back bar set? And overall, keeping our sustain up is pretty much the most important thing with this type of aggressive build. Get in, get out, call it a day. So keep your recovery up as high as you can, and then Wretched Vitality is going to help us out tremendously with this. Stats or enchantments don't really matter. You can put on whatever you want. Poisons, it doesn't affect the build. Jake Bratzer, thanks for the follow, bro. Welcome to the graveyard. How you doing, bro? You at work right now? And yeah, so keeping our recovs up is basically what you want to do to stay alive. Because of the healing reduction that we receive, we're going to be spamming our heals quite a bit. That contingency and hexproofs combo that I was showing you, it can get a little costly, so having a high recov is going to help you out in that area. Jarl's Mountains Warchief. So this is where the huge area of our damage reduction or healing reduction comes in. So it's going to give us a nice tooltip of 129 weapon and spell damage, and then the main effect of this set is dealing damage applies a stack of Milady to our enemy, reducing healing received by 1% for 5 seconds, up to 35 stacks. You can apply a stack every 0.5 seconds. The more damage that you do, the more stacks you're going to get. So applying Milady will also give you a stack, reducing healing received by 1% for 5 seconds up to 15 stacks. So the enemy is going to get 35% damage reduction. You're going to be receiving 15% damage reduction. You can only gain 1 stack every 1 second. So that's the turnaround. They can get 1 every 0.5 seconds, doubling the time. And then you can only get 1 every 1 second for 15 stacks. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. It's still a bit of a play style to get used to, but once you get it down and you can figure out just how long you're able to survive, you can sink kills in pretty easily. Especially when you're combining this with Oblivion damage and they're trying to out-heal your Star Venom. It's pretty funny to watch people struggle when they pop off their heals and they just end up dying instead. So when I say 59% damage reduction, you're taking the 35% from this set And then Blighted Blast Bones is going to be doing major and minor defile. So there's another 24%. So that's, is it 18 and 9%? Or is it 16 and 8? Is this, I think it's 16 and 8, giving you 24%. So add that to the 35%, that's 49%. Or wait. Yeah, 49% damage or healing reduced, right? Wow, I can't do math right now. 35 plus 24. Oh, it's 59. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, all of the above, right? A, B, C, or D. I choose E. Oh, wow. That was a mind fuck for a second. Sorry about that. Trainee piece for the chest, reinforced. Give us a little bit more max health, why not? And then Wretched and Snake in the Stars on the body. I do a 3-3-1, so 3 mediums, 3 lights, and then 1 heavy. The 3 mediums, 3 light to help out with the penetration, the damage, the resistances, and then the heavy, obviously, to top off the Undaunted passive. The Saint and the Seducer. This is going to be the Mythic of choice. There really isn't a flex for this because this Mythic does so much for the build in so many ways. First off by saying, reduce prismatic cost enchantment. Do not sleep on it. This bad boy right here does so much for you. So it's going to reduce the cost of your health, magic, and stamina abilities by 213. That goes a long way, let me tell you. So, look what this Spirit Guardian is. 2259. Obviously that's with reusable parts, but the main thing to look at here is Blighted Blast Bones. Our secondary spammable cost 893 stamina. That is absolutely stupid. I mean, come on. Look it. Ready? Summer's Armor. 779. It just gets lower. And then our Hexproof would obviously cost around 1800, so almost 2k of health, which isn't really that bad because you have healing contingency, but if you can help it, why not, right? So Hexproof's only going to cost us 1500 now because of this. So all of our skills are going to benefit from this, and it's quite noticeable. So that's why we run an infused trade on that, because it boosts it up to 213. So looking at this, while in combat you gain 1 of 5 random major buffs, which changes every 10 seconds, and enemies within 12 meters of you gain 1 of 5 random minor debuffs, depending on which buff you have. So if you have Berserk, they get Main. If you have Resolve, they get Minor Breach. If you have Force, they get Brittle. Evasion, Minor Vulnerability. Courage, Minor Cowardice. Why are we running this Mythic? Well, Necro lacked a lot of these buffs, and then Zos decided to add a good chunk of them to our toolkit. Respectively, Minor Breach and... I'm sorry, not Minor Breach. Minor Vulnerability and Major Cowardice. Major Cowardice would still go with Minor Cowardice, however, it's not that noticeable because of the damage output that we put with Oblivion damage. Minor Cowardice is going to help out quite a bit because it's going to reduce their weapon and spell damage, which also affects their healing. So if you have Major Courage, you're going to do more damage, they're going to have less healing. Major Evasion, it's nice to have, but we already have that with the Vamp Mist, so the main thing that we look forward to is having that Minor Vulnerability, because that's going to let them take an extra 5% damage. Minor vulnerability causes the enemy to take extra 5% damage from all of your output damage. So it doesn't matter if it's a dot, AoE, direct damage, it's an extra 5%. Minor brittle, they're going to take extra crit damage from you. And then we're going to also have 10% critical damage on top of that. Major resolve, yeah, we have that buff already, but what we're looking at is the minor breach. So 2 of the major buffs that are in this, we don't really benefit from because we have that in our toolkit already. It's the minor buffs that we're looking at that help out the build quite a bit. So even though we already have Major Resolve and Major Evasion in our toolkit, the Minor Breach and Minor Vulnerability are what we're after as far as having those buffs up. So how this works is when you have any damage output, you're going to have this giant circle around you. And depending on what the circle does, that's what the buff's going to do. So if we look at our sheet here, Major Resolve. So the enemy right now has Minor Breach on right now. That's what the little blue circle does. And then it's about to change. Major Berserk. So now they have what's Berserk? Minor Maim. So we're doing more damage to them, 10%, and they're gonna do less damage to us, 5%. And now we have Major Resolve. So now they have Minor Breach again. Now it just switched again. Major Berserk, so Minor Maim. And it's random. It's not an order thing. It's not going down the list. It's just going to continuously switch the buffs in a random order. So right now I think it's the Cowardice. Yeah, so Minor Courage right now is what we have. They have Major Cowardice. And so it's honestly a great Mythic because it's buffs that we never had in the first place. Zos did give us some of these buffs in our toolkit, but we can save bar space by running this Mythic and then use the other skills that I have listed below. It makes the build a lot of fun. It makes it super aggressive. You're basically this entity demon running around the battlefield, possessing everyone and just reeling them in and giving them all this oblivion damage. So it's a super aggressive playstyle that I've adopted, and it's my go-to when I'm not running the Army of the Dead build. And then Snake in the Stars rings, everything's golded out, infused, weapon and spell damage, magic recovery, and then the rest of my stuff is gold too. If you don't have gold pieces, definitely try to save up or collect or harvest or trade, whatever you need to do to get these gold, because it makes a huge difference. But champion points, looking into those real quick. I usually go into Imperial City. I don't really run into Cyrodiil because I don't like spending my time looking for fights, but when I do go into IC, this is what I run. Master at Arms just to boost that direct damage, Deadly Aim for single target damage, and then Reaving Blows. Not a lot of people select this, but because we have the we have the healing reduction on, getting this little bit of damage, I'm getting ahead of myself. Getting this little bit of healing back to us from the direct damage that we deal goes a long way. So every time we swipe them with Arterial Burst, we'll get 7% of the damage done back to us. So that does a lot of damage up front as a spammable, so 7%, 7%, 7%. We're just going to constantly get that heal off. Untamed Aggression, just buffing our weapon and spell damage across the board. That does both our healing and damage output. Red Tree, Celerity for speed, Bastion for Sorks and Arcs, Fortified and Boundless Vitality for just more health, more armor. Right? Everybody could use it. Green Tree, Steed's Blessing, Gifted Rider, Liquid Efficiency, Rationer. Nothing too crazy. I don't really use the Green Tree very often, but mainly I throw my Crafter build on and I mess with this stream more, but if you wanted to see what I was running, that's what I got. Okay, we went over the build, we did the character sheet, we did the champion points. If there's anything I missed, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for checking out the entity build. I know it was a long one. I know that it's not necessarily the most sought after Necromancer playstyle due to all of the changes that they made, but if you're looking for something that's a little bit different but definitely feels like it carries the role of the Necromancer, give this build a try and let me know what you think. Peace out, stay frosty, and I will see you guys in the graveyard. Thanks for watching.